Hey everyone, Georgia here with Ukraine Matters. Since Russian full-scale invasion into Ukraine, we've seen massive developments in military technology. We've seen developments in the sea, we've seen developments on the land, and we've seen developments in the air. And there is one specific weapon that has been dominating the headlines and the battlefield as well, which is the drone. Therefore, to answer the question, what is that weapon that Ukraine has delivered? Most likely it's some kind of drone, but which one specifically? And to answer that, we need to consider what we even understand as a super weapon. A super weapon, in a lot of people's minds, is something that a team of scientists, after rigorously studying the enemy, they come up with a concept of some kind of a breakthrough technology that's being developed secretly within secret bases and then gets scaled into production, and then the enemy has no answer to that, and then the team that developed that super weapon gets unfair advantage over the enemy. Which is a nice story. In reality, we a lot of times see certain adaptations on the front line. And this is exactly how we see the super weapon that we're going to be talking about today developing, which is the FPV drone. For those of you that don't know what an FPV drone is, it's this small drone that has some explosives attached to it, has a camera in front, and some antenna just to get connection to the person that is navigating it. And when the person is navigating it, he is having a control pad in front of him, like a gamepad, and he has virtual reality goggles that allows him to see the image from the front camera of the FPV drone. And this technology, while initially early, has been developed as an interesting alternative to how you can scout, maybe strike certain valuable targets, strike tanks, and so on. Now, as it was scaled all across the front line and is now appearing in hundreds of thousands of units, it's becoming an absolute menace. And you might now see probably one of the most, if not the most important video of this year, because what is shown in the video, if scaled, can be a major, incredibly major game changer. And I'm going to guide you through this video right away. So this video comes from the Ukrainian drone operators, and they scouted a target in the sky while on the patrol mission. So they launched the FPV drone, and that FPV drone is now approaching a target. So I need to explain to you what we are staying here. This right here is a Lancet drone that Russia has been using to great effect. It's a big loitering munition piece about the size of a human being. And that loitering munition can fly about 70 kilometers. It can target Ukrainian assets when they are unprotected. So something like Ukrainian artillery, Ukrainian aviation on the airfields. And it has been responsible for a lot of Ukrainian high-value losses. And the problem with getting to control against these drones is that they are relatively hard to target. They also usually operate in tandem with some of the scout drones above beforehand. And more importantly, it's very hard to shut them down. Because they have just a propeller, they almost don't have any heat signature. So if there is no, like a Gepard, something that can detect the drone flying and fire it, shut it down with a gun, then it's quite hard to shut it down. Because something like manpads, they have very poor ability to track this target with its heat signature. And it's well known that there's been a lot of missiles that were fired and never made contact with this. Now we see an absolute different situation. We see that FPV drone was able to fly up, able to meet and contact with the Lancet munition in the air, and then explode and shut down this Lancet drone. And that is so important, that is very important, that I don't understate just how important it is. Because this creates a whole new capability for air defense for the FPV drones. Some of the FPV drones that we're seeing, they're able to fly already with speeds of up to 500 kilometers per hour, which is quite fast. This means that, and again, FPV drones that would be, for example, made to target aerial targets, they might not even carry as much explosives as they need to, because a lot of the FPV drones are carrying a lot of explosives to either scatter a lot of shrapnel, or to have a bigger blast wave, or, for example, have a penetrating charge to penetrate through armor. For an aerial explosion, potentially there is no need for a lot more explosives. If they can just get it off the course and damage even slightly, that loitering munition piece or an aerial strike drone can already be dismissed. What does this mean? This means that Ukraine is potentially developing a new type of anti-air defense. Major downside of any anti-air defense is that it's expensive. Not only the radar installation, not only the installation that launches the missiles or anything else, but also the missiles and ammunition itself. It is pretty damn expensive. The drones, on the other hand, are cheap. So one of the problems of Russian attacks with drones, with their multiple waves of Shahed drones that they have been striking Ukraine non-stop, is that it was very cost inefficient. We've seen even cases where Patriot systems had stamps of targets destroyed, and some of the stamps were having these Shahed drones that are like super cheap. They cost a couple of thousands of dollars to make, and then we use a multi-million missile to shut down this drone. I know it's not proper to compare the cost of the drone to the missile, because the actual cost that needs to be compared is the cost of the target destroyed by the Shahed drone. But it's still, you're still using the missile that could be instead used for some other types of targets. If this is properly scaled, if the specific anti-air drones will be developed, then something like drones that Russia is launching will not be safe. Ukrainians will have cheap abilities to destroy the air defenses. Helicopters will probably be non-existent anymore. That they will be so forced back because they cannot operate if there are these drones. Helicopters are also sensitive to damage. They don't have any armor on them. You cannot put a cope cage on a helicopter and expect it to fly properly. So even small amount of explosives can bring down a massive helicopter. It's a major game changer. So I will monitor this as well, but this has been one of the most important videos of the year for sure. And this, the small drone that is made of nothing, costs like $300-400, is an absolute game changer. But Ukraine is not standing still. They are doing stuff on their own, most notably with ATACMS. I usually don't cover strikes on this channel, and it's for a good reason, because Ukraine has been escalating strikes non-stop. What you can do is go in Google or Twitter, whatever, and you write Ukraine strikes Russia, and then you will get all the various articles of Ukrainian strikes inside Russia. It's crazy. There has been so many of them lately, and a lot of them were very valuable. I will not cover specific strikes, but I'll cover certain specific tendencies. The tendency number one is that Ukraine has been using a lot of drones for their strikes. Ukraine has been able to scale their long-range drone production, that they are now sending many tens of drones right away, up to as Russians are claiming, hundreds of drones on the facilities, and they're targeting the facilities, destroying the anti-air around the facilities, and destroying the facilities themselves. But what is interesting about this specific strike over here is that Ukraine is now combining the strike by the drones together with the strike with some of their own development with the missiles. It is unknown which missiles these were, but the rumors are that the missiles that Ukraine has been using, it was some of the Ukrainian developed missiles. I'm not sure if it was Krim 2 or Neptune or something else. Potentially this was finally the Neptune, the air-launched Neptune that was promised for a while. We don't know. But whatever it is, so Ukraine has been using, and they struck a target in Yeisk It was, I believe, drone training facility, yeah, that was targeted, and devastation was pretty big, and it was pretty impressive. For those of you that don't know where Yeysk is, so this is Ukraine. Maybe I can rather show it, yeah, on the battle maps. It's going to be a little bit easier. So yes, so this is Ukrainian controlled territory, and then if we go from Ukrainian controlled territory, then this is where Yeysk is. Second major interesting development is that Ukraine was able to take out Russian space communications and surveillance center in Crimea. It's an extremely important object in Crimea. It wasn't as relevant before, mostly because it was monitoring space and Ukraine didn't really have a lot of assets in space. But this thing is not monitoring just the space, it's also monitoring for ballistic missiles, something like ATACMS. A ballistic missile, for those of you that don't remember, is a missile that just flies in, goes up in the air, very high, and then drops down with intense speed just due to gravity. So these radars, they were able to locate a lot of these missiles, such as ATACMS, and now this place is not operational anymore. So this will give even more freedom for Ukraine to use ATACMS and strike targets inside of Crimea, which is great. And then the third development that I want to take is that Ukrainian aviation, it has been appearing more and more in the news. Ukrainians are using aviation on the front lines. They're using gliding bombs, JDAMs, they're using small diameter bombs from the airplanes. Aviation of Ukraine is now super active, which tells us one very important thing. Russian anti-air system shield that they had is falling apart. Ukraine is finding holes, Ukraine is finding blind spots, so the campaign of a whole year of Ukrainians targeting Russian anti-air assets is now paying off. All of these drone strikes inside Russia to make sure that they move around the anti-air assets, everything is now finally starting to pay off, as Ukrainian aviation now has more freedom to operate, to actually start impacting, literally, thank you for the pun, on the front line and striking the valuable targets with bombs. And bombs are very important in this war. And finally, I'm going to touch on one specific type of strike that happened just recently, which Russia blames US for barbaric Ukrainian attack on Crimea. So this has made some waves, so I'm going to take it apart just a little bit. The point is, there was a video appeared about some of the beach in Crimea suddenly hearing explosions, then supposedly strikes, and then a lot of people wounded, some dead, and Russia blames that Ukraine obviously struck a beach in Crimea, which is obviously a lot of bullshit. Now, this beach is located right here, and it's a nice place. It's right next to the sea. So, but if we zoom out, I kind of made this line here. If we zoom out and we kind of go up, then just about 4.5 kilometers away, we see the main Russian military aviation airport Belbek, which is also having a lot of anti-air systems around it, so they can be both south, north. We don't know where the anti-air systems are. There's a lot of other juicy targets with regards radars. I mean, even Google Maps, you can see the Russian airplanes, military ones, just located here. So Crimea is not a safe zone. Crimea is a war zone. I am not sure how people didn't really realize that. So Crimea is not some kind of peaceful area. Ukraine said that they will strike every single military asset, and then they will strike everything around it if it has military purpose. So in this case, as far as the reports are, is that Ukraine used 5 missiles. Russia said that they intercepted 4 of the, all 5 of them, obviously 4 exploded, and the 5th one, that's the one that decided to target the beach. That's why they're summoning the US ambassador for some reason. Obviously we cannot trust, because Russia always shuts down everything. So we're going to be looking at the pictures from this airport and going to see if Ukraine was able to hit the assets. But the point that I want to deliver, this is right next to the major target. So all of the Russians that were on the beach, and then suddenly, whoa, missiles. And then surprise Pikachu fails. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Get out. Get out of Crimea. Crimea is Ukraine. You have nothing to do there. And it's not like that they don't know. They do. Because even without a lot of kind of talks and everything, Russian war Z correspondents, they actually wrote that, yeah, it was right next to the airfield, you know, it's like, and most likely the targets were there. And they underscore one very important thing, because the reports are that it was ATACMS with a cluster munition warheads. A cluster munition is a missile that filled with a lot of these bomblets, and each of these bomblets explodes and then everything dies around it, roughly speaking, you know. And there's hundreds of thousands of them. So if that missile would actually hit the beach, then it wouldn't be like couple people, like maybe I think it was like 100 wounded or something. It would be like over 100 dead minimum. Like, because beaches are super dense and there is no fortifications or anything. Everything dies with these things. So it's definitely didn't hit. My best guess is that it maybe destroyed a missile in the air, and then both the missile shrapnel and the shrapnel from the anti-air missile of the Russian that exploded, it flew away and then it landed on top of the people on the beach. Just because this is, it definitely wasn't just a missile themselves. Russia always lies, by the way, just to make sure that we talk about this. Putin is genius. Putin went to North Korea to try to negotiate some support for them, which triggered South Korea to now consider, hey, maybe we should consider supporting Ukraine. So far the rules are, if Russia supplies something to North Korea, and they will supply something to North Korea because Putin is stupid, to North Korea, South Korea will start supplying ammunition to Ukraine. The most important thing that Ukraine can do is to make sure that they get access to the production facilities of South Korea. So the South Korean weapons producers will start taking orders for Ukraine. That's the most important. I'm really hoping that there will be a proper negotiations about it. I will cut the video here, guys, otherwise it will be way too long. I will put what I recorded more into the next video. But I want to say thanks for everyone that is participating in our campaign with the Ukrainian Women Veteran Movement to gather enough support to buy an armored medical evacuation truck to be used by Ukrainian armed forces. I will call you and participate because it's a new Ukrainian charity that we're working with. They don't really have good way of getting payments processed. So if you go on a page that are linked in the description and then you select the amount that you can donate, press next, select credit card, input your first name, last name and email, press next. Then this page will come up. It will ask for your card details, but it's not working, unfortunately. They were able to set up PayPal, so you need to press this PayPal button right over here to the right. So after you press that, you press the donate and it will take you to a dedicated PayPal page. Now for me it's in Danish, I hope for you it's going to be in your language, but here you will have two buttons. You will have the ability to donate with PayPal and you will have the ability to again use your card to make a donation. So you're still going to be able to use the card for it. In any case, I really want to say thanks for everyone that has been donating. We are very, very close to our targets. It's very incredible what we are all doing. I love this community. I also wrote to my moderators that I was about to cry when I saw how much we did since the last time. And it's incredible. Thank you guys. I love you all. Slava Ukraini. Keep strong. Support the armed forces of Ukraine. And I'll see you next time.